Gigabyte outed a suite of Android phones during this holiday shopping season with a lot of screen sizes in the mix for various tastes. This is Daniel from PhoneArena presenting you the Gigabyte GSmart Sierra S1. This is a dual SIM 5-inch HD handset with decent design and specs, arriving at a price to match. Will it be enough to be noticed amongst the ever-increasing value for money Android crowd though? Let's find it out. The GSmart Sierra S1 has a pretty ergonomic and pleasant to hold chassis with soft touch back that imitates brushed metal and 4 chrome rims surrounding the sides. Its rounded corners and the tapered back make it lie very firm in the hand, and the build quality is consistent, leaving the impression for quite a durable handset. At 0.35 inches, 8.9 millimeters and 6 ounces, 170 grams, it is not the thinnest and especially not the lightest 5-incher out there, but it's precisely those numbers that give it the solid feel in the hand. The power lock key plus volume rocker here on the right are very conveniently located with good tactile feedback to them, easy to feel and press without looking. The Sierra S1 has this removable back cover that fits very tightly, yet it's not hard at all to pry open, revealing the swappable 2000 mAh battery, micro SD card slot and the 2 regular SIM card slots. This battery is good for about 3 weeks of standby, and Gigabyte gives it only 4.5 hours of talk time in 3G mode. Perhaps this has something to do with the dual SIM mode that the phone is capable of. We've got a 5-inch 720 by 1280 pixels IPS LCD display on the Sierra S1 with pretty good 294 ppi pixel density that won't leave you longing for much more. The colors are natural, but the black levels are rather grayish, as you can see, with the screen backlight visibly seeping through when showing a black background. For instance, screen brightness is enough for decent outdoor operation of the phone on a cloudy day, though you'd have trouble telling what's on if it's sunny outside and shining directly on the display. Viewing angles could be better, and yet since it's an IPS LCD panel, contrast and brightness do not start shifting until after the 45-degree mark and deteriorate only at these extreme angles here. There's not much to say about the interface on the Sierra S1 for the simple fact that it is running almost stock Android 4.2 Jelly Bean with a couple of extra widgets peppered on for good measure and a G letter branded on the lock screen. Gigabyte doesn't even provide any apps outside of the stock ones, save for a file browser and a flashlight app. It has licensed the excellent touchpad keyboard though, which has swipe-like finger tracking functionality, which works very well and in a number of languages too. The stock Android browser as well as the installed Chrome's performance is pretty basic on the phone. Zooming is choppy and panning around introduces quite a bit of lag, as you can see. Text reflow works as intended, snapping the article text into the screen width very well. And scrolling is generally smooth too. The Sierra S1 sports 42 megabits per second HSP plus download speeds and features Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 3.0, GPS connectivity, FM radio, and that's about it. USB on the go is supported, meaning you can plug a flash drive in the micro USB port with the respective cable and the phone will recognize its content. A quad-core MediaTek is nothing to write home about despite the number of cores, as these are frugal Cortex A7 ones, clocked at 1.5 GHz, which are not exactly powerful. The basic Power VR GPU isn't the most peppy either, so you'll notice some lag and hiccups both in the interface and the browser, and while going in and out of apps. The phone sports 1 GB of RAM for some basic multitasking and only 4 GB of internal memory, but it does provide a memory card slot, so you can expand with up to 32 GB more. The stock Android gallery offers a grid thumbnail view of your photos, and you get a few editing options and color effects here built into the app itself. We have Google Play Music taking care of your tunes with a couple of equalizer presets thrown in for a good measure. And there's also the stock music up here, which has no equalizer presets to speak of. The loudspeaker is of average quality. The sound coming out is with enough strength, but a little flat sounding. Video playback is pretty stellar on the phone. It runs MKV and DivX X80 files up to 1080p resolution without a hitch, as you can see, although there aren't many options in the interface save for a loop function. The phone features a 13 megapixel camera with LED flash on the back, and the interface of the camera offers a few basic shooting modes as well as color effects to choose from. You also get HDR photos and panorama ones. Gigabyte sets the Sierra S1 apart by providing a dedicated camera shutter key here on the right, so you don't have to rely only on the virtual shutter key. Photos appear detailed enough for the resolution, though sometimes fine detail like tree branches and shrubbery show as a colorful mess on several photos. Noise is also a problem, easily visible even in rather good lighting conditions, which is not the case with other 13 megapixel handsets out there. Despite the apparent lack of noise suppression, overall the images appear too soft, especially towards the edges. The color representation is natural, but there often is a pinkish hue cast all over the frame. Scene exposure is also a mixed bag, with the Sierra S1 overexposing the images, very often making them appear too dark or overly bright than what's in reality in front of the camera. Indoors, the phone showed passable performance for a smartphone sensor, that is, although the photos are definitely on the noisy side and blur appears pretty often unless you hold the phone extremely steady. The Sierra S1 may set the ISO as high as 2000 plus, which results in very grainy images, usable only in small size. The LED flash is rather weak too, failing to properly illuminate the scene from about a 5 feet distance. Video is captured with 720p resolution and fluid 30 frames per second, flaunting a decent video sound recording quality. It is fairly soft too, however, though the detail situation is decent. At a price hovering between $250 and $300 at various retailers without contract subsidies, the Gigabyte GSmart Sierra S1 here is setting itself against formidable competition like the Motorola Moto G, for example, which is much cheaper yet offers superior performance. The 13 megapixel camera on the back of the Sierra S1 is the big disappointment here, and the MediaTek processor coupled with 1 GB of RAM make for a subpar experience, unfortunately. If you aren't much of a shutterback though and need a dual SIM device, the Sierra S1 will offer you a solid, very pleasant design and good media playback on the largest display here. For about the same money, however, you can now get the dual SIM Alcatel One Touch Idol X, which is more compact and still offers a 5-inch 1080p display as well as a much better 13 megapixel camera. The Galaxy Grand 2 is also a nice dual SIM alternative, but it's likely to cost you more on account of the Samsung branding. This was a video review of the Gigabyte GSmart Sierra S1 from PhoneArena. For more information about this and other handsets, you can visit us at PhoneArena.com. Thanks for watching.